Hello, sports fan, and welcome to the Pats for Breakfast All-Star Team. This was 2000 opening day and 2019 opening day cards that Chris and I opened up on Sunday morning, which we do every Sunday morning at 6 a.m. Eastern, or 6 a.m. Mountain Time, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. We opened up a bunch of packs of cards. We did 2000, of course. There you go. You can see a couple of the 2000 cards because they have the big 2000 on them. And then, of course, the 2019 opening day cards, because, of course, opening day was a little less than a week ago. Baseball season is in full swing, and the Rockies look in mid-season form. Looks like they're going to be 1-3 because I think they're currently losing their game to the Phillies right now. So, the first thing we have to do is we had an excess of pitchers and catchers. Because as you can see, we had two of the best pitchers and two of the best catchers that came up, and it was hard to decide which one to put up there. We also had like a lot of really good, outfielders. It's like we had to throw a lot of good ones away. We had to throw away a couple of good, one of them, a Hall of Fame closer, because we have Manny Rivera. I wanted to throw away Derek Jeter, and he wouldn't let me. We're also missing a second baseman. That could be a problem, but then again, I might bring in Eric Young and make him our second baseman and say, I'll put in the substitution. Don't worry, I'm every bit as good as Bud Black, who had a pitcher who only threw 67 pitches through 6 innings or 5 innings and took him out, and then the bullpen blew it. Good job, Bud Black. Okay, so let's try to figure out which catcher that we're going to start. So let's go to the raw numbers. Ivan Rodriguez, who I think is the greatest catcher of all time. 296, 311 home runs, 1,332 RBIs, 2,844 hits with a 68.7 WAR. He played 21 years, and he had 14 All-Star appearances and 13 Gold Gloves. He also won the MVP. Now, Yadier Molina is a very good catcher. There is no doubt in my mind he is a Hall of Famer, if not a first ballot Hall of Famer, because he is one of the best catchers, more from a pure defensive side. But he's still 277 career average, 176 home runs, so he had a little bit of pop in the bat. He had a little bit of thump. 1,022 RBIs, not that far behind Rodriguez. Hits a little bit further behind, 2,168. His WAR was 41.6. He played for 19 years. He had 10 All-Star appearances and 9 Gold Gloves. So a lot of this stuff pales in comparison. But then I thought to myself, you know what? These two catchers are a complement to your hitting team. But I want the best defensive catcher. I want the guy, both of these guys can put up offensive numbers, but I want the guy that can throw out base runners. Now, the average that I kind of gleaned from all of this is that the average is 30 to 33%. Well, Yadier Molina's career throwout percentage, 40.3. 40.3% of runners he threw out. That is way above what I deem as average. And I'm just one of the reasons we consider him one of the best defensive catchers of all time. So you're saying, well, what did Ivan Rodriguez do for throwing out base runners? Well, how about 45.7%? This is why I think he's the greatest catcher of all time. Not only was he good defensively, he was great offensively. This is a catcher that won the MVP trophy. I got to give it to Ivan Rodriguez. He is going to be our starter. So, Molina, I'm not going to lay it down on like we do with a lot of those. I'm just going to pull the card because, you know what? You're too good to just fall on your face. You were way too good of a catcher. He was also a pretty clutch hitter too. Now, this brings us to our starting pitchers. Now, if you look at our starting pitchers, those are two of the absolute greats. One's a righty, one's a lefty. Randy Johnson and Clemens, I know what the argument is and why he is not in the Hall of Fame, but to me he should be. And of course, Randy Johnson is already in the Hall of Fame. Randy Johnson had 303 career victories with a 3.29 ERA. It's like in 22 seasons of baseball. He had 4,875 strikeouts. He won the Cy Young 5 times. He was a 10-time All-Star, and he had a career WAR of 101.1. Yes, Randy Johnson is elite, one of the greats of all time. But I want to bring up Roger Clemens' numbers. If we didn't have the little hiccup where he is suspected of the steroid use, maybe was popped. I don't remember that, but maybe he was. But a lot of these steroid era guys were never really actually popped. They were just implicated in things. But correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I didn't really, I don't like to research the negative stuff a lot. I don't like to dwell on it. So let's go over Clemens' numbers. Randy Johnson had 303 career wins. Roger Clemens, 354. Now I know Clemens played 2 more seasons, but in 2 more seasons of play, he had 51 more wins than Randy Johnson. Roger Clemens' career ERA was 0.17 better than Randy Johnson's because Clemens was a 3.12. He had fewer strikeouts at 4,672. He did go to 1 more All-Star game. He was in 11. His career WAR, Roger Clemens' career WAR, 139.2. Now here's the kicker. Randy Johnson, Hall of Famer, has 5 Cy Youngs. Roger Clemens, as a pitcher, won the MVP award. He also has 7 Cy Youngs. 7. For me, for this particular one, I'm going to put Roger Clemens on the mound. Don't get me wrong, Randy Johnson's maybe my favorite pitcher of all time. It's a toss-up between him and Greg Maddux. But the numbers, I remember watching Roger Clemens too, and I remember how much I hated Roger Clemens when he became a Yankee. I liked him when he was a Red Sox. And of course, before all the, this stuff came out, Roger Clemens, to me, was one of the greatest pitchers of all time. I'm not as hung up on the steroid era as other people. The steroids don't bother me that much, and maybe that's my problem. But they don't bother me that much, so I'm going to start Roger Clemens. I'm going to start Ivan Rodriguez. That's a heck of a battery, and that's All-Star for now.